In this video, I am going to show you how to accurately track your calories. But before I show you how to do it, I want to explain why we do it. I'm a big believer in if we understand why we do something, we are more willing to do the thing that we're doing because we understand why we're doing it and the impact it's going to have, okay? Tracking isn't about restriction and it's not about being perfect. I want you to think of calories as just a unit of energy. We track because it gives us data, it removes any guesswork, and allows us to see if what we're doing is working effectively for the goal we're trying to achieve, and then we can make decisions based on that as to what we need to change to keep pushing towards the goal. It is a tool. It is not a life sentence. You don't have to do it forever. It is there for educational purposes to help you understand the nutrients in different foods and give you that confidence and power in knowing what you're eating and whether it aligns with the goals that you want to achieve. And to also stop you from getting back to a place that you were at before if you're looking to change that because maybe you're unhappy with where your physique is currently at. Or perhaps if it's for health reasons, which is obviously a huge part and so much more important than how you look. You know, being severely overweight or obese carries humongous health risks. And if you want to live a long, happy life, eating a good, balanced, nutritious diet is super important. So what actually counts as calories? Basically anything that's not water has calories in it. No, I'm joking. Obviously diet drinks don't have calories, water doesn't have calories, but most things have calories of some sort in them. You have low calorie options, higher calorie options. There is no good or bad. I really want you to understand that there is no such thing as good or bad food. Calories is just calories. And like I say, it is there to help you make an informed decision on what you're currently working towards. The main things I see people missing out is condiments, so things like your tomato ketchup, your mayonnaise, that kind of thing, cooking oils, which is quite a big one, and yeah, just any like sauces, extra little bites, licks here and there. These little things don't seem like much, but if you add them up across the day and say every time you do that it's like 30 or 40 calories out, it's not going to take you up to maintenance, but it can start to push you closer to that point. So that's where these little bits and pieces do add up, and we do want to make sure we're tracking those as well. I think as well, understanding that the number that has been set for you, try and see it as a bit of a goal, a little bit of a challenge, and understand that it is okay to go over that number, okay? Honesty is the biggest thing when it comes to tracking your food, and just understanding that if you want to go over your calories and have X, Y, or Z, you are allowed to do that. The only reason restriction comes into play is when you then feel guilty and bad about that. So instead, own your decision, be cool with it, and then just move on the next day. Again, new day, new challenge. Let's try and stick to the calorie goal today if I'm trying to lose fat, or it might be I'm trying to hit this many calories because I want to build up some muscle. You see it as a challenge that you're setting yourself each day, and if one day doesn't go to plan, instead of thinking what's the point, this isn't working for me, get back on plan the next day. The next thing that's really important is tracking before you eat. If you are tracking at the end of the day, it's going to be good for you if your memory is as good as that, because I would forget the measurements, but one, is going to mean that you're going to forget bits and pieces, and two, you're just kind of tracking as you go, and the likelihood is you're going to go over that number by the end of the day. Whereas if you track before you eat, you can then adjust your measurements to suit within your calorie goal. So for example, if there was a couple of unexpected snacks you had and then you're going to have dinner, it might be like, okay, I need to actually reduce my pasta by 10 or 15 grams, which you're not going to really notice, in order for the calories to balance out for the day. So tracking ahead of time is really important to help you stay in line with your goal. Next up, we've got food skills. You are going to need one of these. If you are tracking your food but not weighing it out, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're wasting your time. There is times where you don't or can't weigh things out. I completely respect that. You know, maybe we're eating at our parents' house, maybe we're out for dinner, blah, blah, blah. We obviously can't weigh that out and we have to guesstimate. That is fine, but if you're guesstimating 3-4 times a day, every day of the week, you're just not going to get accurate enough data. I was just making some overnight oats. So if we take this for an example, this has 50 grams oats, this has 70. There is a significant calorie difference in that, but they look exactly the same. So if I hadn't weighed that out, I wouldn't have known that I'd gone over by 20 grams of oats and then potentially taking me a couple hundred calories over my target. So little things like weighing out is going to make a big difference. If you're telling me I don't have time to do both, it would be more beneficial for you to weigh than to track. So you would look at the packet of something, look at the recommended serving size, which is obviously for most adults to maintain, and then you would just reduce that a little bit to put it into a calorie deficit. So I think the recommended serving size for pasta, for example, is 75 grams. We would usually say to aim for about 60 grams of pasta in that case, just to reduce the portion a little bit, start to add a calorie deficit that way. So little simple switches like that. Same with cereal. Do you know if it's usually 30 grams, you might be like, okay, I'm gonna have 25. If it's granola sprinkled on top, instead of 25, have 17. Like little switches like that make a big difference to saving a couple of hundred calories, and you really don't notice it in your overall food consumption. Some of the trackers will say 1 tablespoon, 1 cup, 1 serving size. I find just changing everything to grams and weighing everything out in grams is the easiest thing to do, because it allows you to do it accurately. 1 teaspoon of like peanut butter versus 1 actual teaspoon of peanut butter can look very, very similar, and it's little things like this that really do add up over time, and stop you from getting the result and you thinking it's not working, but it's just really down to how accurate you're able to be. A big thing people struggle with is when making food for the family. So all you'd want to do is divide by the number of portions. It might not be 100% accurate, but for example, if you're doing a family for 4, hubby's probably going to have, or wife is going to have 100 grams of pasta, you're going to have 60. The kids are probably going to have about the same portion as you, I would imagine, maybe a little bit less. When you're ladling it out into the 4 portions, whoever's having the biggest portion would be like 2 scoops to them, 1 to you, 1 to you, 1 to you, 2 scoops to them, 1 to you, 1 to you, 1 to you, 2 scoops to them, 1 to you, 1 to you, 1 to you. And that's the easiest way to really weigh it out, and then all you do is divide by 4 for how much of the portions you've roughly used. That is the easiest way I've found for family meals, rather than you having to cook a whole separate dish, and then that's quite challenging. And all you're going to do is place your pan on, you're going to zero, and then you're going to pour in whatever you're using. So, you know, pasta, chicken, whatever it might be, pop it in there, and then that's going to then tell you how much it weighs. In terms of things like butter, pop it on, zero, and then take out is a really good tip. This is good for jars of things. This is good for things like your peanut butter, Nutella, etc. Same with if you're having mayonnaise, you would just place the plate on the tracker, zero it, add the meal, and that's going to show you how much mayonnaise is there. These are little things, but as I say, they really do add up across the day. And if you're serious about losing weight or building muscle, whatever your goal might be, the more accurate you can be, the quicker you will get to your result. And as you start to track, it will initially feel overwhelming, but then what you'll find is you'll be eating a lot of the same stuff, and you can then save them as meals, as favorites, and then you can just be rinsing and repeating the tracking from there. So it's just initially while you're building up the data a little bit. A couple of other things I've seen is like not tracking alcohol. You don't need to track every single drink. Like, I understand if you're on a night out, but what can work really nicely is having a calorie target for, say, Sunday to Thursday, and then a slightly higher target for Friday, Saturday, so that you have a bit more flexibility. So you would maybe want to give yourself an extra 300 calories, 400 calories on those 2 days, take it away from during the week, so that you can have, say, like 6 gin and tonics or half a bottle of wine, whatever is your preferred. That's a really good way to spread your calories across the week. Again, this is just pre-planning in advance. If you're someone who typically has stuff on Friday and Saturday, that's going to be a really good thing to do. Also for breakfast and lunch, trying to have high protein, high volume, low calorie options. So a great breakfast would be Greek yogurt and fruit. A great lunch would be chicken, rice and veg. Again, like 350 calories. Those 2 meals combined are going to be about 500-600 calories, and then you're going to have a lot left for an evening meal and drinks out. It's just pre-planning in and not going into the mindset of, oh, well, I'm going out tonight, so what's the point? I'm going to have the whole day written off. It's like actually 2 out of 3 days is still really consistent, and overall is still going to be 80% of your week smashed and only 20% with a little bit more flexibility. The other one I see a lot is only tracking healthy foods. Don't feel like you can't have the foods that you enjoy. As I've said at the start, there is no good or bad foods. Some foods are more nutrient dense, some foods are less nutrient dense. It doesn't mean there's not a place for them, but by not tracking them, the only person that you are cheating is yourself. And if you want more of those foods, it does mean, especially if you're in a fat loss phase, that you are not going to feel as satisfied because those calories are going to be much higher for smaller amounts of food. That is fine. I just wouldn't recommend it on a daily basis because it's going to be really hard to stick to your calorie deficit. On the flip side, if you're trying to build muscle, you just need more good quality nutrients. If you do like a dirty bulk, you're not going to see the same results as someone who is primarily having whole foods with high protein. It's just not going to get the same desired effect. At the end of the day, tracking works, and I know it does because when I've seen it time and time again with clients, when they're super consistent, they get incredible results with it. I've done it myself for many years, 8 years. I don't even need to track now. I can literally look at a plate of food and know how many calories are in it. Some people might say that that's wrong, but you wouldn't just spend money willy-nilly and never look at your account. Like, it's a way of having control and understanding of where you're at. You don't need to track 7 days a week forever, but I do think if you are new to this, if you've struggled with losing weight or even gaining muscle, you need more data to actually see what's working and what's not working in order to get to the desired result. Like, don't expect it to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Be okay with some days being harder than others and some days not going to plan, some days going perfectly. If you get out of that all or nothing mindset of if it's not perfect, there's no point, you're going to get a lot further in your journey, and you will see that actually tracking food gives you freedom to be able to have the things you enjoy and balance out the other things. And that's how I really view it. And that's how our clients view it as well. It's not a restrictive tool. It is literally, as I just said, a tool. It's not there to make you feel bad or guilty about choices. If you're sitting there thinking, oh my god, no, I cannot do that, then I would create a meal plan. I was talking about that in my Sunday reset video, where if you have like a meal plan that you can just follow and maybe just have one meal a week that's off plan, that can be another way to do it. But for most people, I find tracking is much more effective because you guys get bored of eating the same foods, so it allows that family flexibility there. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, give it a like, subscribe. You can also follow me over on Instagram and TikTok, which is where I post videos like this daily. Hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.